Now, meantime, if you're choosing to fly abroad regardless of the new restrictions, listen up, because we've got some pretty good news. Passengers flying on El Al from New York to Tel Aviv now benefiting from a new pilot program to expedite arrival procedures in Israel, where infections have been on the rise.
I think this process is very good. It helps us get into Israel faster, and it leaves some of the pressure from us when we land. So I think it's very good that they're doing this now here. And they seem to be struggling a little bit with the amount of people, but they're getting good at they're picking up.
Starting Thursday, August 5th, passengers flying El Al between New York and Tel Aviv have had the pleasure of skipping congestion in the airport upon arrival in Israel. And it's all thanks to a new El Al exclusive program to provide PCR tests just before takeoff or even on the plane while en route. El Al officials explaining the rationale.
Instead of holding on in line upon landing, we save the time for the passenger. And second, we decrease the time that the people need to wait until they get the results of the second test.
Israel hoping the new restrictions will slow the spread of COVID-19 by reducing congestion in Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport. And if the pilot proves successful, El Al will expand it to more U.S.-Israel routes. The Israel airline also noting, however, that these tests are not a substitute for those required 72 hours before departure. Currently, in order to enter Israel from abroad, one must get a negative COVID test within 72 hours ahead of takeoff and then again after arrival. But passengers must also show proof of vaccination or recovery in the form of a PCR test taken at Ben Gurion Airport, and all this regardless of whether or not travelers must also enter quarantine.